Hello everybody, what's going on? My name is Alex Goddard and welcome back to my channel for another Doctor Who video. Yes, I'm back people. Thank you for the patience and the support, you lovely subscribers. Yes, I am back with a brand new Doctor Who video and you are all going to be in for a treat people, because today I'm going to be counting down every single Dalek story from worst to best. And in that way, there's 25 Dalek episodes, which I'm counting this as a top 25. I know, it'll be a long list, but you'll absolutely enjoy it most importantly. Make sure you comment down below your favourite Dalek stories ranked from worst to best. And make sure you like this video and please subscribe to my channel for more Doctor Who content like this. And so yes, without further ado people, let's begin my top 25 / every Dalek story ranked from worst to best. Starting off at number 25, the worst Dalek story in my honest opinion is Destiny of the Daleks. Now, it becomes another shocker I know, but if you haven't seen my channel recently, I did a reaction of Destiny of the Daleks, and if you've seen that, that didn't go too well. That was... I kind of regret even doing that video, to be honest. But look, Destiny of the Daleks is a horrible, really badly written script by Terry Nation, and the way that the Daleks are portrayed in this, they're portrayed like idiots, like tatty, bumbling idiots, and I'm a bit ashamed of Terry Nation because I just don't understand what the whole point of this Dalek story was about. Was it just to find the Daleks, to find Davros and then to blow themselves up? There was no clue. No one had an exact mind of what was actually going to go on in this story. It was badly paced. There was problems with the plot, the characters were just ridiculous, and then I can't fault Tom Baker's performance because he was just flawless all throughout, just really funny. I mean, there was one line in the story where I was actually like, oh my god, I wish I could just turn this screen off. It was the line where the Doctor was pushing Davros like in the wheelchair. I was like, shut up or I'll switch you off. And I was saying to myself, my gosh, if I could turn off this damn story, I bloody will. But yes, the Daleks are at their tattiness in this. They're really stupid in this story, I've got to say. They are absolutely really stupid in this, and I'm trying not to swear. I mean, I feel like I'm going to swear, but I'm trying to keep it at least PG, but it really pissed myself off how much of Terry Nation as this last Dalek story to be written like this. I'm going to be moving on to number 24, Mission to the Unknown. Now, technically, this is not a Doctor Who story. This is just a prequel to the Dalek Master Plan. It's a very interesting prequel, but it's not a 100% Dalek story. There's a few Daleks in it, preparing for the destruction of the Time Destructor and the Dalek Master Plan, which, fair enough, it's a good prequel, but it's not a Dalek, like, it's not a 10-part story. It's just one single episode, mini episode to be honest, and it's just prequeling the start of the Dalek Master Plan. That's basically about it really. There's nothing too much about this story to be honest. And so I'm going to move on quickly to number 23, The Chase. Now, this story is incredibly silly. It's just ridiculously funny, it's enjoyable, but the Daleks are treated like dim-witted children. Like, they get destroyed so easily by their enemies, by scrotums, and they've got weird Frankenstein characters in there they're getting destroyed by. And they're just absolute idiots in this story. Like, this is not how you treat Daleks. These are Daleks that are supposed to be menacing, they're supposed to be frightening. And yet, when Terry Nation is writing Daleks like this, like Destiny of the Daleks was just... my god, it was just a mess. And the same with this. This is just an honest mess of a Dalek story. This is not what Daleks do. This is like Daleks in a playground, acting like little children. Like, it's just really badly directed. Okay then, so moving on to number 22, we have Asylum of the Daleks. Our first New Who story of the Daleks. Now this has to be the worst one because, like, no offence, Jenna Coleman, Matt Smith, Karen Gillan and Arthur Darvill, really good performances. I mean, there's a few bits I would pick out that are really cringy in some places, but the whole thing about the Parliament of the Daleks is baffling me, because I would never think that Daleks would mix with politics. Like, that doesn't make sense, really. I mean, why would the Daleks even have a parliament? A parliament? There's not going to be a Dalek version of Boris Johnson or Jeremy Corbyn. I mean, fucking hell. Like, what was this story supposed to be? I mean, they had an asylum of Daleks where I didn't know what they were supposed to do with them. I mean, they were asylum all the way, they've broken up Daleks, or the Daleks have gone wrong, but I don't know why they didn't destroy that asylum in the first place. Like, surely enough they wouldn't destroy their own kind of it, because it just seems like a bit of hatred, but they destroyed their own kind before, time and time again. Why can't they just destroy the asylum? Obviously it's a plan to lure the Doctor in there so he can die and the Daleks can rule supreme. But one of the things at the end though, the Daleks forget all memory of the Doctor. That Clara or whatever, Oswin, erased the Daleks' memory of the Doctor. And frankly, that is completely oblivious, which frankly, I don't know whether to be impressed or to be amazed, but completely ashamed really, because what you've just done there is like you've completely erased the entire memory of the Doctor in the Dalek's brain, and you've just... Unfortunately, that doesn't work. It's like having a reset button, but instead it doesn't work. It's like, what happens for all the other Dalek stories? Are the Daleks not supposed to remember the Doctor because of this happens? It's like, there's no point to do that. It's just wasted bit of potential. I mean, no offence, this story is just poorly directed. It's written appallingly with Stephen Moffat, of course, but I just can't see the Daleks. Like, they even included every single Dalek in the history of the Daleks, but it was wasted completely. And another one I'm going to be moving on to, number 21, The Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar. Yes, why I've rated this one so goddamn low, you may think, why have you rated this one so low, Alex? Because if I'm going to be judging the story itself on the Daleks, then this is at the lowest, because it's clickbait. You are saying that there's been, or we're going to include every single Dalek from the history of the Daleks from the start to now. It's like, oh, you're going to see all the Daleks in action. However, there's no action. There's hardly any action in this story. Fair enough, the set of Skaro is phenomenal. It looks sublime. The conversation between the Doctor and Davros, yes, superb. But then again, is it a good Dalek story? No. Because necessarily, if I was just judging this story on Davros, then this one would be at least top 5. But at the moment, when you've got Daleks just standing around and destroying the TARDIS, and yet they're hardly doing anything. Like, come on, roll around on Skaro. Take down an army, for God's sake. Just do something with the Daleks. Otherwise, it's clickbait. It's clickbait for all of the Doctor Who fandom. That whatever was in the mind of Stephen Moffat that made this Dalek story to be like, oh, it's going to be one of the best Dalek stories ever. I mean, yes, fair enough plot-wise with Davros, but when you include the Daleks themselves, they're just there, just sitting there, just, you know, I don't even know really. I mean, that's probably one example of when the Daleks, I can't even describe of what they're even doing in this story. It's completely clickbait. So, for all of you out there, sorry to burst your bubbles, but this one is not a favourite. It's probably one of the worst Dalek stories in the modern series. Alright, number 20. Now, I think up to here, I don't mind these Dalek stories. I've actually got to like them in a way. I mean, the first 5 were the worst ones for me because I just couldn't stand them at all. But these ones, I really like them. Not like them, but just like them. Like, they're good Dalek stories. They've got many flaws with them, but they're still good Dalek stories overall. So, at number 20, Victory of the Daleks. Who doesn't like all British with Daleks, Winston Churchill, World War II, and Doctor Who? What's not to like? It's mixing everything British to make the entire Doctor Who story quite iconic. That resembles Britain doing well in the world wars, with Winston Churchill being at his best, and the Ironsides. Oh my god, they look really good. And I'm talking about the Ironsides that serve cup of tea to the people, to the personnel in the trenches. Or, well, is it sort of a trench? No, it's more like an underground base, more like. But they're serving cups of tea. Would you care for some tea? I love that bit, I really do. But it's a really interesting Dalek story. I think it's funny. It has elements of comedy, it has some serious drama in it, like the Spitfires in space. I mean, I watched this one quite recently and I love the Spitfires in the space. It's relating to all things British. But there's many problems with this Dalek story, like the design of the big, massive, bulky Daleks, the Paralam Daleks. I mean, they just look ridiculous. I mean, honestly, I've seen so many memes that they've also put the Power Rangers theme song into the whole Daleks coming out of the chamber, or in all different colours. White, red, blue, yellow, orange. It just feels like the Daleks have turned into Power Rangers for some reason. I know. It's funny, it's charismatic, it's funny, it's silly, and the Dalek designs are hideous. But something about this episode you just can't really hate because it's all things British. Doctor Who, the Daleks, Winston Churchill, the World War. It symbolises all things what this great country was made for. Alright, coming in at number 19, I'm going to go with... Please don't crucify me for saying this, but I'm going to go with my gut feeling, and I'm going with, wait for it, the evil of the Daleks. Don't get your guns at me, please. Let me explain why I kind of see light, why people would see this as an abomination. Why would you rate the evil of the Daleks so low? Because, for my personal opinion, and I'm going to respect all of your personal opinions, I think many of you have seen the reconstructions of Evil of the Daleks. I've tried to watch the reconstruction of the Daleks, of Evil of the Daleks, but I just can't get to grips with it. Like, I'm sorry, I don't think reconstruction's for me. I just don't like reconstruction. I think if this story was animated, then yeah, it would definitely be in the top 10 no matter what. But I just needed this story to be revived or animated, because then I could definitely say some good things about this Dalek story. I mean, the first appearance of the Dalek Emperor, and the Daleks in this story, I don't know what even the actual aim was to do. Like, I don't know if it was just to change up their genetic makeup with a few added emotions to make them more evil and more sinister. I really don't know. There's just something about this story that is baffling me. And unfortunately, the only one bit of footage we've got is episode 2. And what I can tell from episode 2, it's the weakest of all of the episodes. And I've not even seen the rest of the episodes because I can't barely watch it, but I can already tell that it's the weakest episode, and it's the only episode that we've got still recovered. But it just makes the overall aim of the story just seem a bit confusing and a bit baffling to me. So that's why I rate Evil of the Daleks so low, and I do apologise that if I've, crucified or if I, gone berserks over this choice, but it's my personal opinion. If you love Evil of the Daleks, then fair enough. But for me, I need more to go on. I need Evil of the Daleks to be animated or to be recovered, because if it was, then I'll be agreeing with you. I'll be having Evil of the Daleks even at my top 10 spot at least. But right now, it sits at number 19 for me, unfortunately. Sorry everyone. That's probably one of the biggest shocks I've got in my list. And there might be a few other shocks, but yeah, there you go. Sorry everyone, but that's my opinion. Alright, moving on to number 18. We've got Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks. Now there's something quite interesting about this story, that this two-parter is sort of like a Frankenstein operation mixed with the Daleks, mixing with the genetic makeup of a human to create a genetic makeup of half Dalek, half human. And I really like that interesting concept. It's taking what we have known the Daleks to be, this mutant in this outer casing, that the creature inside is so vulnerable but also quite deadly at the same time, knowing that it doesn't have its outer casing, which makes it really vulnerable. But taking that mutant and combining the genetic makeup with a human, it's not like, it's like dissecting a human with a Dalek and taking bits and just mutating an entire human with the Dalek. It's creating a new species of the Daleks, which hence evolution of the Daleks, the new race of Daleks. However, the genetic makeup though doesn't go well for Dalek Sec. Dalek Sec did a really good job in portraying what a human like of a Dalek would be like, but unfortunately though, the Dalek lose all form of Dalek essence, if you know what I mean. There's no sort of Dalek remains left in Dalek Sec at the end of evolution of the Dalek. It's completely all human, and like there's a few hints of Dalek, you know, chemistry between Dalek Sec and the rest of the cult of Skaro, but there's not necessarily a lot to go on with this story. I mean, the first half of the story, seeing the Frankenstein and the genetic mutation of a human into a Dalek, it's quite fascinating, but the whole story itself just plays out to be that they kill the only creator to lead them out of the dark, and you've destroyed him. Just because he is no longer a Dalek, he's more human-like, which is necessarily bad for the rest of the cult of Skaro, because they don't want to be what Dalek Sec is like, and so it's best off for them to kill him. And so it still remains that the Daleks are still staying true to what they remain to be. Really evil creatures, not to be mutating with humans, and to be creating a new race of Daleks that would cease to exist and would have all emotions like normal humans, but just would look a bit creepy in the streets, if you know what I mean. And so yes, that's number 18, Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks. Now we're going to be moving on to number 17, which I'm going to be putting the Dalek Invasion of Earth. This one is yet iconic. I mean, watching the Daleks roll around in the streets of London, over the bridge, and going through the streets of London, completely abandoned, it's iconic. I love it. But yes, there are many flaws with this. The pacing in the story is so slow. There's sort of elements of character development, but it's mainly about how the Doctor can stop the Daleks when they've already invaded Earth. They've taken control of Earth by now. There's some factions of renegade humans who wanting the planet back, who want London back, but the Daleks have got complete control over London itself, and yet just wondering if they've taken over Earth exactly. Because I just think that if they're shooting this in just London, so this Dalek story shouldn't be called the Dalek Invasion of Earth, it should be called the Dalek Invasion of London, because they're only showing London. It's not like they're invading the whole world, because otherwise I just can't really see this story to be like they're invading Earth. They're just invading Earth for one part of Earth, that is London, and yet they hardly can successfully invade London very well. They've not even succeeded doing that, so how are they going to conquer the world if they can't conquer London? So it's just, that's a bit baffling for me. It's iconic, I know, but there's many camera issues, there's many camera flaws, the pacing is just a bit off, it's not what I expect, but overall, it's not the title that it says it's supposed to be like. It's not the Dalek Invasion of Earth, it's more like the Dalek Invasion of London. And so that at number 16, we're going to be moving on to Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. Now, what happens when you have Cybermen and Daleks? You get all-out massacre war. But the one problem though is, the Cybermen are so at a disadvantage. Their lasers don't do much against the Dalek case, and the Daleks are indestructible. Unless you get a massive gun and then destroy the Dalek's head off. Yeah, fair enough, but the Daleks are supremer than the Cybermen themselves, but it's just the way that they're treated in this story. Like, fair enough, the Cult of Skaro, first off, it's a great name, I love that name. And I think all four Daleks take out to be a group of renegade Daleks to go out in search of new ways of survival. And I really like that concept. Unfortunately though, they only look to bring back their army of Daleks. And when you have an army of Daleks, and it's like 15 minutes until the ending of the episode, and you've already released your army of Daleks. What does that say? It says very, very little about this entire Dalek army. I mean, one flip of the switch into the void and blast all of the Daleks go into the void, hanging on for dear life with the Doctor and Rose, hanging on for dear life, trying not to get sucked into the void. But the Coast of Sky get away from their, emerging temporal shift. But the rest of the Dalek army is completely wiped away into the void. And when you think about it, was this story executed well? Like, for a Dalek army to appear and then get wiped away into the void? And yet, was the battles between the Cybermen and the Daleks ever good? No. I think everything was just overwhelming, and I don't think this story met its expectations. I think it fell flat on its face for what it could handle. It's a too ambitious idea to have Cybermen and Daleks, but I just couldn't see this story working. I just think that, especially as well as the end, if we're just going to be judging the Daleks, I wouldn't even class the ending at the very end. I think many people say, oh, but the ending at the very end when the Doctor says goodbye to Rose. No, no, no. Forget about that absolute bullshit. Focus on the Daleks themselves. This is a Dalek story, not the relationship between Doctor and Rose. This is about the Daleks. And truthfully, they could be so much better, but right now they were misused. They were wasted potential, with that Dalek army appearing for about 5 minutes and then going blasting off into the void yet again. It's just clickbait. An army of Daleks versus the Cybermen. Oh, brilliant. And yeah, 5 minutes. Oh, gotta wrap things up. Let's throw them all into the void and close the episode off so we can see the departure of Rose and the Doctor. Bullshit. Bullshit. Right then, let's move on to number 15. Revelation of the Daleks. Now, this one is very interesting. Like Colin Baker's Doctor with the Daleks. It's interesting. It's a dark and witty script, yes. Is it a good Dalek story though? There's elements of where the Daleks become, or where the humans turn into Daleks. It's like an early version of Evolution of the Daleks, but done in a much darker tone. You can see the mutant, you can see the whole process of a human turning into a Dalek. It's quite gruesome and quite hideous to watch. And you have the whole funeral aspect of this story, and yet the Daleks take Davros away, and yet Colin Baker is like letting them go. So basically, the Daleks are defeating Davros, and the Doctor are not going to stop the Daleks from taking Davros away. So it's like a police force of Daleks taking Davros away, and yet the Doctor is just letting them go. It's like, something about this script didn't really like Colin Baker's Doctor at all. And so, yes, that's all I can say really. It's a dark and witty script with a few Daleks in it. With like the earliest version of Evolution of the Daleks changing humans into Daleks. But not necessarily it's showcasing a lot of darkish tones with the Daleks. I think they're just still the same old Daleks, just with Davros is a bit broken up and a bit capitulated. But unfortunately gets carried away by a faction of Daleks which are known as the Dalek Police Force or stuff like that. But yeah, it's a weird one, this one. Okay then, coming in at number 14, we've got possibly one of the most, how can I say, silly Dalek stories, which personally though, I really like, and it's Death to the Daleks. Now this one is very, very interesting because you've got Daleks who don't have any sort of methods of killing. Their weapons are completely useless. And yet what have they got to do? They've got to follow the Doctor into the city of Exelon, I think it is. It's been a while since I've seen it. But they've come out with a new machine gun that is used like a new form of their laser beam. So instead of a laser beam, they've got machine guns. And I actually really like them. I also love the coloured schemes of the Daleks, the silver and the black. It looks really, really good. But I think the machine guns, I think that's a really interesting idea. But it works fantastically. I mean, I wouldn't see the Daleks come out with a man-made machine gun. I mean, pew, 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 Scotland's like instant kill. Like, my gosh, I mean, that's like the man-made Dalek from one of the recent ones fitted with a man-made gun. I mean, that's really boggering me. But at the end, it's sort of a bit wasted that some of the Daleks are so silly enough. I mean, they get battered to death with sticks. Sticks, I'm telling you, sticks. I know, it's mental, but at the very end, it's even that the dogs are giving up in their tasks, like, oh, the prisoners have escaped. I mean, even go and try and look for them. I mean, even one of them was like, I have lost the prisoners, I have failed, I have failed, I have failed, I failed, and then self-destruct itself. I mean, come on. Go at least search for them, at least. And then, if you feel like it, plunge into the river where you could get killed by the massive snake creature or something like that. Anyway, let's move on away from Death to the Daleks to number 13. And number 13, I know it's unlucky. And speaking of number 13, I've got the 13th Doctor's Dalek Story, the New Year Day Special, Resolution. Now this one, with a man-made Dalek, it's very interesting to create your own Dalek from scratch. I don't think that's never been done before, but I just really like the fascinating concept of building a Dalek by yourself and to see like the remains of a mutant taking over a human and driving that human to do some drastically dangerous things, and to see the entire terror and the interrogation of police officers getting in their way, going on the opposite side of the road, going and blasting everyone into existence, seeing this man-made Dalek versus an entire army or the military, just showcase what it can do. It's a fantastic Dalek story. Like, I wouldn't usually say that it's fantastic for Jodie Whittaker's first Dalek story. I think it can be improved, and I was a bit worried that that is going to be the initial design of the Daleks. Like, no, it's just a man-made Dalek for the time being until Series 12 comes along, then we'll have some new Daleks. But at the moment, it's not necessarily a Dalek, it's more like a made-up Dalek that is made up with scraps. So you could call it like spare parts. It's a spare part version of a Dalek in this way. But it's a very good story nonetheless. I mean, it's finally about time we had Jodie Whittaker facing off against the Daleks. I think she needs another episode with the Daleks, but I think the Daleks just need to be designed better. If you're going to have the man-made Dalek again, you need to have a Dalek who looks incredible. Like, the bronze Daleks are probably the ultimate Daleks, they're all. But I think you've got to create a new Dalek design, not like the Paradigm Daleks, don't even bother going back to that design. Just it needs to be a design that looks like the iconic Dalek that we associate with and we can actually relate to. So I think they need to be clever with this next Dalek design. And so yes, at number 13, yes, I know, number 13, Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, Resolution. And so moving on to number 12, we've got the first Dalek story that appeared in 1964, The Daleks. This is what made our love for the Daleks, and it's why we love the Daleks today. To see that first cliffhanger at the very end of episode 1, Barbara being absolutely terrified by the scene of a moving sucker moving towards her and screaming with absolute terror and fear. It's the one iconic cliffhanger that we associate with the Daleks. It's a fantastic Dalek story. It's a bit long for my liking. It's overly 7 parts, and I know for some people they could watch it all in one go. You can't not like this story. There's many flaws with it. The Daleks are a bit slow. They don't call the Doctor as like it's the first encounter of the Daleks with the Doctor, and yet, you know, they hardly say exterminate, they say fire or kill. But it's certainly one of the most iconic ones that you need to watch for you to get a real good grasp of what the Daleks are all about. I mean, the Daleks towards episode 5 or 6, I think they do some really good damage. But I think towards 3, 4, they stay in that control centre for quite some time. And I think that what puts, you know, the entire story off. It's a bit badly paced for my liking, but even when I feel like to watch it, I still don't mind it. But I think the pacing is a bit of an issue. But I think maybe they just made the story a bit too long for my liking. And I just think that the original designs of the Dalek is fantastic, but I think the first into contact with the Daleks is always a first, you know, to see, and it's such an iconic moment really in the show's history, the first appearance of the Daleks, and I can't really rank this one low for being that terrible because it's the first appearance, and sometimes the first appearance, sometimes the first impressions are always the way to succeed in order to fear the Doctor the most. And so that's at number 12, the Daleks. Now we're going to be moving on to some of my most loved Dalek stories, but they're not necessarily my favourite Dalek stories. So at number 11, we're going to the John Pertwee era, to the appearance or the return of the Daleks in Day of the Daleks. Now Day of the Daleks is a very unique and fascinating Dalek story because it's the one Dalek story that has involved a paradox, and it's the whole concept of travelling back in time to change history, and yet when they are travelling back in time through the time corridor to the planet of the Daleks, and to see the amount of factories that they're working these slaves off, and the controller who's so manipulative and so cunning towards the Daleks that they can see right through him, and the Daleks can see that he's going to turn against them, and it was rightful in the end that he was exterminated. But if you watch Day of the Daleks, the original version, it's not necessarily great by nonetheless, but if you watch the special version, the special edition has some extra scenes, but it looks so much better. The special, special effects team have done a fantastic job. The town corridor looks amazing. The shots from the guns from the Daleks look fantastic, and yet there's some really good death scenes with the special edition. Not what you will see with the normal edition, but overall it's a fantastic Dalek story nonetheless. It's very enjoyable. It's the first time you see units versing up against the Daleks, and I mean, we've seen the Cybermen versus units, but we've not yet seen the Daleks versus units, and I needed to see the Daleks, how they could cope with unit being there as well, and the entire conference going on as well, time travel, trying to sort out history with these guerrillas, trying to cause their own change of history. And like, the reason why these Daleks are after them is because they've changed their own history, because they've done it themselves, and has created an entire paradox on themselves, which means that they can't do nothing about it unless one of their men destroys the house with not one of the presidents in there. I think it's called Styles, I think, but without him in the house, then they can't continue their history. And yet, the Doctor has seen everything happen, and so he plans to make sure that, Styles is safe, and he changes, the world for the better. So it's political with Dalek, with time travel elements in it, but I think it's a good collaboration of good elements to make a really good Dalek story. Alright, so now we're moving on to my top 10 list of my favourite Dalek stories. So, at number 10, we've got John Pertwee's second Dalek story, and I think this is probably his best Dalek story in his era, Planet of the Daleks. Like, my gosh, the setting of this is just incredible. The jungle, it gives me back memories of a previous Dalek story that I'm going to mention in a bit, but it's a fantastic Dalek story where you see the Supreme, it's not more like the Emperor Dalek, it's more the Supreme Council of the Dalek, and the Dalek design of the Supreme Council looks absolutely sublime. It looks amazing, and I think the Daleks trying to nail the concept and trying to tackle the ability to be invisible and to seek out opponents and to kill them invisibly. Now that is scary. I mean, I would never take Daleks and make them invisible to make them even better, but it's also working with this deadly virus that they're trying to contain that would spread across the jungle, across the planet, and kill everything in sight, as well as the Daleks, because the Daleks will react as well with the virus. It's a very fun Dalek story with the return of the Files as well. Got some great supporting characters in there. The Doctor is at his best. He's although halfway asleep through the first episode, but when with the remaining episode, he nails the role perfectly. And I love just seeing again the whole Dalek corridors. Whenever I see corridors that look like on a Dalek command center or spaceship, it gives me chills that a Dalek could come round the corner and kill you instantly. I think Planet of the Daleks is just a fantastic gem, and of course it rolls over from Frontier in Space, which had sort of a mini cameo appearance, but it was not a Dalek story. It was merely just a small cameo appearance that was going to relate to this episode, and it's just a fantastic Dalek story nonetheless. I think this is one of those Dalek stories, like, above everything else that's going on, you still enjoy this story no matter what, because you get so much enjoyment. You understand the concept, you understand what they were trying to do in this story, and I think the concept of invincibility with the Daleks, it just makes them even more dangerous. And with this deadly virus that they're trying to contain, it's possibly like a recipe for disaster, and it's really directed really well. So yeah, tops off to number 10, the Planet of the Daleks. So coming in at number 9, we've got Peter Davison's story of the Daleks, Resurrection of the Daleks. This one though is my personal favourite Peter Davison story of all time. I mean, Earthshock and Caves of Lasagna does come close, but I've watched Resurrection of the Daleks so many times, and this one is just my favourite Peter Davison story. There's elements of witty and gruesome Dalek action in this story, and yet you've got supporting characters like Lytton. Lytton is amazing in this. He's so goddamn manipulative that you never know if he's going to turn on his soldiers or on himself or onto the Daleks, so you never know. He's a very mysterious character. You've also got those policemen who works for him, just standing in the alleyway of the abandoned warehouses, just standing around, walking around, looking very sinister and very menacing, and then with their batons, they look almost like shotguns almost. So they're really, really creepy, and they were almost creepy all throughout the story, chasing Tegan throughout the city. And then you have the Doctor going into the warehouse, seeing the outer casing of a Dalek, its mutant form, attacking human beings, which makes the Daleks see that they don't need their own outer casing to succeed and to really become their own sort of threat. It's like, it's really good. It's like the Doctor still being afraid of the Daleks, even after all this time of not seeing them, he's still yet afraid of his mortal enemies. And I think the conversation between the Doctor and Davros, Tony Malone's Davros, is just, I think it's the best Davros, to be honest. I mean, the conversation is just sublime with the Doctor, talking about a new race and a new make-up form of the Daleks, changing them of who they want to be with their emotions intact, and just talking about, you know, Daleks in general, of how Davros has had a different concept of how he sees his Daleks to not only take over the universe, but also to see the change in their ability to become, you know, supreme beings of the universe. So it's like the different conversations between Davros and the Doctor that just makes sometimes the story so menacing, and yet not forgetting the Daleks. The Daleks are at their best, and sometimes, you know, it's not all about just, you know, killing people. It's also creating strategy, which sometimes these Daleks can manipulate. Going onto this Dalek ship, trying to find Davros, manipulating and strategizing what they're going to do. And I love it, and I love the control center on the Dalek ship with the whole dark colours with the time globe. I really like that, and the Supreme and the Supreme Dalek looks fantastic. I think the Daleks themselves look fantastic, and I think, just for me, I kind of get the feeling that I know how dangerous the Daleks are when they're in that command center, and for me, it just gives me chills. It gives me spineless chills, honestly. But yes, that's at number 9, Resurrection of the Daleks. So coming in at number 8, we've got the longest and the biggest Dalek story of all time. And unfortunately, we've only got 3 episodes of it, but it is still an absolute granddaddy classic of them all, the Daleks Master Plan. This one, although 3 episodes in, and you only got bits of episode 2, episode 5 and episode 10, which that leaves a good bit of the chunk, like episode 6, 7, 8 and 9, and you hardly see any sort of action with the Daleks. They're like they're moving on to different places all the time, killing other people, trying to retrieve different objects, trying to chase the Doctor and Stephen down, to trying to stop the Time Destructor from going off. And even episode 12, when Sarah Kingdom ages to death, I find that gruesome. Like, really gruesome. And I think Marvik Chen in this story, though, is just sublime. But, however, I wouldn't say that it's one of my favourites, because obviously there's a lot of the episodes missing, and I think it's still incomplete for me to give my entire full opinions, but I still rate it as a classic. However, the Daleks themselves are good, they're very manipulative, they're very strong, they're very powerful, but they're overshadowed by one man, Marvick Chen, who played by Kevin Stoney, that was his name, who also played Tobias Vaughan in The Invasion. He was fantastic, and I think he overshadowed the Daleks more than anything in this story. So I think Marvick Chen definitely deserves full praise for this story as well, because without him, I don't think the story would be at least where it is right now, because Marvick Chen is the driving force that drives the Daleks towards the very end of the story. So that's why I rate Daleks Master Plan at number 8, where it's not necessarily my favourite, but it's definitely a good Dalek story nonetheless. And so yes, let's move on to number 7. We're almost there. I know it feels like a long video, but you'll be excited to hear that we're almost finished. We're just halfway through it, but now it comes on to some of the greatest Dalek stories of all time. But when it comes to the top 4, that's when I say that they are the best of all time, like nothing can beat them all. So at number 7, we have got Journey's End and Stolen Earth. I know I was supposed to say that the opposite way around, but oh well, I'm going to leave it like that. So yeah, Stolen Earth and Journey's End is a very groundbreaking and special finale, reuniting all of the companions from David Tennant's era, battling out against the Daleks, menacing, dealing with time and reality, taking all of the planets out of existence, leaving the skies to be all mystical and galaxy-like, and yet the Daleks being at their menacing with Dalek Khan and Davros. It's all of the elements, all the ingredients to make a super amazing Dalek story, and it's fantastic dealing with how the Doctor can hate and yet fear the Daleks even more when Davros and Dalek Khan, it's like Dalek Khan goes absolutely ballistics, he goes insane, and yet he turns against the Daleks, and it's like, you know, something is coming and one of them will turn against one another. And Dalek Khan, though, it's like the one Dalek in the entire Dalek history goes insane and turns against its own kind. And like that blows everything away, because it's like at the end of what was a fantastic Dalek story, you've got this being this, and it's just wonderful, wonderful script writing, wonderful writing from Russell T Davies, great direction, great characters, the companions. They each get their own bit of moments. Captain Jack Harkness dying and yet coming back to life yet again. And I love the scene where, oh, look at this, it's Mickey Mouse. Shut up, Captain Cheesecake. And they just laugh about it. Oh, it's one of my favourite scenes. But yeah, there's some brilliant comedy aspects. There's some good family and emotional bits with Rose and the Doctor, seeing the Doctor get exterminated and then yet regenerate, and not technically regenerate, but like re-energize himself. Not change his face, but just regenerate himself. I don't even know if that's a word, but I'm going to go with it anyway. Re-energizing himself. And so yeah, that's number 7, Stolen Earth and Journey's End. Now, we're going to be moving on to number 6. Now, I've not mentioned this story at all up to now, because I need to get this off my chest, because if you've not seen my reaction to this story, then you've got to go and check it out, because this story has a real deep connection with me, because this story is the 2nd episode of my favourite Doctor, Peter Capaldi. Yes, I'm talking about the one, the only, Into the Dalek. Now, this story is mind-boggling. It's wonderful, it's creative, it's one of the most interesting and yet thought out Dalek stories there is, because it's not necessarily focusing on the Daleks killing people. It's like the Dalek, Rusty, seeing the star being born, seeing the beauty, seeing his emotion coming through. You wouldn't expect that from a Dalek, and yet Rusty is so completely different from any other Dalek. It's a bad Dalek, and what represents a bad Dalek? Emotions going through its head. It's ill. It needs repairing, but yet still when it's repaired, it goes off the hook, it goes ballistic, it needs a doctor. And yet the Doctor is confused and baffled of how this Dalek can exist, and how this Dalek can understand beauty, and a star being born, and it's beautiful drama, it's beautiful CGI, and it's the whole first episode, the first Dalek story, to see humans and the Doctor and Clara climbing into the inside of a Dalek and seeing the inside of a Dalek for the first time in miniaturized form. And I know, don't be lasagna, I know, sorry about that, I had to mention that there. It's just one of those Dalek stories that gets to me. It makes me emotional because it's making a Dalek emotional, seeing a star being born and seeing a new change of Daleks, seeing this one renegade and robust Dalek to change for what it usually is. The genetic makeup is completely different. It understands emotion, it understands hatred, it understands beauty, it understands pride, it understands so much more. It cares about all of the soldiers. It even kills off the Daleks. A bad Dalek killing off other Daleks. I mean, even the action with the Daleks in this story is so classic-esque that it's just getting back to what the classic series was all about. Being ruthless and aggressive with the Daleks and with their action sequences. It's going back to what the classic series was made for the Daleks. And seeing the classic you know, genetic makeup of the Daleks being tampered with and making it feel all these weird feelings. And it's mesmerising to see how a Dalek can handle these emotions and yet feel unthreatened by the Doctor. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful piecing of drama. I really love this story, and if you don't like this story, then fair enough, it's your personal opinion, but this is my guilty pleasure Dalek story of all time. Alright, we've made it, guys. We've made it to the top 5. Yes, my top 5 Dalek stories of all time. You might have an idea of what they are, but here they are. My top 5 Dalek stories of all time. We're starting off at number 5 with everybody's fan favourite Dalek story of all time, Genesis of the Daleks. The start of the Daleks, the start of what is the most menacing, the most fearful, the most manipulative, and one of the most terrifying, or should I say the terrifying monster in Doctor Who history. This is the start of them being the supreme beings of the universe. The first appearance of Davros, the creator of the Daleks. Although the Daleks aren't featured as much in this story as I would have liked, but it's the entire complexity, the genetic makeup, the beginning. Seeing how just normal mutants can be transformed into weapons of destruction and can be used to destroy the Khaleds and so many people in the universe. You see these scientists doing their job, and yet the Daleks come in and exterminate each and every one of them, like with no mercy whatsoever. And yet when the Daleks feel like that they've got so much power and so much control, they turn on their creator when they don't need him anymore. But it's the entire conversation though with Davros and Tom Baker though. It's so iconic. I can't describe it so much more. It's what makes Davros to be like Hitler, creating weapons of destruction, massive destruction. It's Hitler mixing together with Davros, becoming this overall evil creator, creating these Daleks full of hatred, full of menace, and the original creatures, the mutants inside of them, strangling the Doctor. It's powerful stuff. It's the beginning, it's the genesis, it's the revelation. It's just, how can I say the word like star without saying the word beginning? It's basically, it's the origins of where the Daleks form to be evil and destructive. This is the start of the Daleks. And so yes, that's at number 5, Genesis of the Daleks. Reason why it's at number 5, it's an epic Dalek story no less, the start of the Daleks, but it's not necessarily my favourite. Coming in at number 4, it's possibly the best use, and I'm going to say this, forget Doomsday and forget all of those other Dalek stories that had Daleks in there just for clickbait reasons and for Dalek armies just to be completely wasted. This is the best story to feature a Dalek empire, Bad Wolf and Partings of the Ways. This is the grand finale. This is the best finale that you're going to get with Daleks. Trust me, you're not going to see a better Dalek finale than this bad boy. Bad Wolf and Partisans of the Ways is a complete and truly wonderful masterpiece. The Daleks, the Dalek Empire, the Dalek Emperor. What's not to like? I mean, these Daleks are completely different from any other Daleks you've seen. It's worse than that. They're hating their own flesh. They're Daleks created from the dust of human remains. They hate themselves. They hate their own existence. And that makes them more deadly than ever. Brilliant action, brilliant drama. The farewell of Rose, yet with Christopher Eccleston's Doctor. And let me say this, and for all of you out there, Christopher Eccleston is the best Doctor, possibly in the new series, maybe not in the classic series, but the new series though, Christopher Eccleston is the best Doctor to ever encounter the Daleks. I would say Maximus' Dalek stories are weak, but they're enjoyable. Capaldi's stories, there's one good gem, but the rest are crap. David Tennant though, good enough, but not ultimate. But Christopher Eccleston's Dalek stories are the best of the best, and they cannot be beaten. They are sublime, absolutely sublime. And this Dalek finale with the Dalek Emperor, the design of the Emperor is brilliant. It's brilliant. And I love the Daleks going through Satellite 5, destroying carnage, causing havoc, destroying and doing endless killing. This is what you want a finale for. This is how you execute a massive army of Daleks for a grand finale like this. I mean, you saw how many Daleks there were at the end of Bad Wolf, and coming into this, they last through the entire episode. Not 5 minutes, the entire episode of Partisans of the Ways. They are amazing. The Daleks are truly magnificent in this Daleks two-parter. It's mind-boggling. I can't say that this one doesn't get a gold for being ultimate, for being epic. I think this Dalek story is just the best series finale that you could ever get for any series. Some of it may compete it with like the Big Bang and the Pandora Opens. That's a good one. Stolen Earth and Journey's End. That's another good one. Last of the Time Lords and the Master Trilogy in Series 3. I quite like that. Doomsday and Army Ghost. Completely forget that bullshit. Series 6. Completely forget about that Wedding River Songs series finale. Series 7. The Name of the Doctor. A good finale. Series 8. Death in Heaven. Dark Water. Nope. Forget about that. Series 9. Remember Heaven Sent, forget Hellbent. And Series 10, okay with, actually no, not okay, the Simon two-parter, really good finale in my personal opinion. And then Series 11, well, just not really a finale really, but this is the finale of all finales. If you had to make up a perfect series for your own self to enjoy, this will be your finale no matter what. You have to include it no matter what, because this is at the scent at how powerful, how cunning, how manipulative, how deadly the Daleks are truly to be. This is wonderful, absolute wonderful drama from Russell T Davies, and it's a complete and utter brilliant masterpiece. Brilliant. Alright, at number 4, that was Bad Wolf and Partisans of the Ways. I mean, that was just, you know, for me, it's just an epic showdown of Daleks versus the Doctor and the Doctor regenerating. So yes, now moving on to number 3. And when I said before that the Daleks master plan Marvick Chen overshadowed, or the Daleks were overshadowed by Marvick Chen, in this one, the Daleks are not overshadowed. They are ruthless, they are cunning, they are manipulative, they are at their best in this story. And I'm glad that this story was recovered, because if this story wasn't recovered, then I would have put this even lower. Yes, you may have been angry at me for rating Evil of the Daleks at number 19, but at number 3 though, it's the power of the Daleks. Power of the Daleks though is the most amazing concept of the Daleks demanding power, and how they use that power to their advantage to succeed and to destroy everything in the colony, everything in sight, rebuilding their army from their own power supply, using the faithfulness, using the humans, manipulating them, using them as slaves, trusting them as friends, like, we are your servants. Like, really, I can give you 4 good reasons why I love this story. 1, the Daleks are phenomenal, really cunning, using power to their advantage. Number 2, it contains some of the most fantastic supporting characters, like Breton and the scientist and the other people around it, and the Colonel as well. Number 3, you've got some of the best Doctor Who classic cliffhangers of all time in this 6-parter. And number 6, it's by far one of the best Dalek stories of all time. Because right now, I am so happy that this is animated, because frankly, if this wasn't animated, then I would miss out on an absolute gem here, because Power of the Daleks is just wonderful. I love the animation. Some people may not like the animation, but for me, it's just some of the best animation footage I've ever seen, and just seeing everything pieced together in this story. The Daleks taking off their guns and just using their own sort of, like, say, one of their suckers to bring them glasses of waters and become their servants. And when they get their demands, when they get what they want, then they exploit that and they use it to their advantage. And power. The Daleks need power. We want our power. We want our power. You can just see them from screaming at the screen, screaming for power. They want their power. And especially some of the cliffhangers, especially the scenes where, I can't remember the scientist, but he's moving into the Dalek capsule and watching the Daleks being made, being created from mutants into casing with weapons, ready to be activated, and you see a massive army of them ready to be released. Unbelievable scenes. I can't describe how of a fan I am of those scenes. The cliffhangers are fantastic, especially when the Doctor's trying to talk and the dog's shouting, "I am your servant! I am your servant!" It's the way the Daleks say it. They say it with so much menace. It's not like "I am your servant." They say it with so much character, so much charisma, so much menace, and so much fear. It's brilliant stuff. Power of the Daleks. And unfortunately, you would say the ending is a bit weak, because the Doctor just flips up the switch, which overrides the circuit and overloads the electricity, which then makes the Daleks just blow up initially. Since every single Dalek feeds on the power supply, they'll just get blown up by the electricity. And I know that seems like an easy get out for the Doctor and pals, but you need to think about it though. It's like the Daleks have taken on so much power, and yet when they feel like they're invincible, when they're killing and massacring loads of people, it's fantastic. But just, it's like blowing so much air into a balloon, and what would you do if you blow too much into it? It bursts. There's only a certain amount of power you can feed into a cable or into a circuit, but if you feed too much power, it overrides and blows all your power supply. So that's the one problem you've got with this story. But I'm not saying this as a negative, but it's like a nitpick that I don't mind, but I love to bits though. Power of the Daleks though, it's possibly the best Dalek story, which shows the Daleks at their most cunning, their most manipulative, their most menacing. And yes, I love Power of the Daleks. And so, at number 2, coming into the top 2 now, there's only 2 more stories left. Number 2. It was hard to choose this one, but at number 2, the start of the new series with the Daleks. Episode 6 of Series 1, the masterpiece that it is, for one single Dalek to knock out every single person in existence, Dalek. And it's just as simple as that. That title says it all. The one word of Dalek. What does that mean though? It means fear. You're scared. You're terrified of them. It's the one word in existence that scares the Doctor. And even he was a bit baffled by Metaltron. Like, he didn't quite understand what it was about. And even going through the museum, seeing old faces like that Cyberman had, the Savine arm, just looking at all of those old faces, like, he feels a distress call coming. It's like, I'm come to help, I'm the Doctor. And then in the darkness, Doctor, like, Doctor, like, you all automatically see his facial expressions. How scared and how petrified he is when he heard that voice. Impossible. And you can see that why Christopher Eccleston is the best Doctor to ever encounter the Daleks, because he can truly know why the Dalek is here. It's fell through time, fell through the Time War, it's calling for help, it needs somebody who knows the Daleks, the Doctor. And the Doctor thought that he destroyed the Daleks through the Time War. And this series, Series 1, was straight after the Time War. So just seeing a single Dalek surviving through all of the Time War, for a single Dalek to survive, and to see the Doctor in complete horror, in complete terror, it's brilliant. It's mesmerising stuff. It makes the Doctor even more afraid of the Daleks than he was ever before, because since he saw this Dalek surviving through the depths of the Time War, to see what this Dalek has been through, it's damaged, it's surviving, it's still out to get the Doctor. It's like the Doctor saying to himself, what do I have to do to destroy the entire race of the Daleks? It's like, you can't. You physically can't. But yes, this one Dalek is damaged, and for one single touch, one human emotion touch from Rose, brings it back to life. And it feeds on that emotion, it feeds on the genetic makeup of Rose, which then makes everything in his path completely irrelevant. But Rose is safe though, because her genetic makeup is keeping her alive. However though, it's making the Dalek feel ill, it's making him feel not like a Dalek, it's changing him. But that's not like a Dalek. A Dalek is evil and corrosive and menacing, fearful, manipulative. You can't see any goodness in a Dalek. It was kind to Rose for that one story, but for the rest though, especially like Into the Dalek, you saw the emotions go through yet again. But not every Dalek can be good. I think this one damaged Dalek was going through the Time War, went insane, has expressed through emotions, and feels sorrow, feels mercy, and yet when he revitalises himself through draining the internet. I know, imagine if the Daleks drained all the internet, where would we be without the internet? But yes, it's a fantastic Dalek story. It's just what makes a true Dalek so powerful. Forget the armies, forget massive empires of Daleks. I mean, necessarily parts of the Ways and Bad Wolf are tremendous, but if you want to see the true power, the true horror of a Dalek, watching this story can just give you the idea that one Dalek is enough to destroy the world. And that is frankly just mind-boggling. But with the damage that it can do, it killed everyone pretty much instantly. Going through the entire complex, killing everybody in sight. It's just what the Daleks were made for. A killing machine, a non-stop killing machine, not caring about the humans, caring just that everyone wants to die. Because they honestly believe they should die. Human beings are different. It's the honest and genetic cleanliness of the Daleks. And Van Saturn has let it loose. And plus, on the other hand, if you want to know, there's a Goddard in this story. Yes. Goddard. Yes. Goddard, but we're not related. Just to let you know. Okay then. So, we've come to the end of the video. But we have one more Dalek story yet to tell. And you probably already know what Dalek story I'm talking about. It's my favourite Dalek story of all time. And to tell you the truth, it's my first ever Classic Who story of all time. And sometimes your first is always your favourite. The first Classic Who story you ever watch. is always going to be your favourite no matter what, because you remember so many memories watching this over and over and over again. And I've watched this pretty much, like, say, 50 times over the course of my career, but this story is just, honestly, I can go so much into detail, and I will do, but it's my favourite Dalek story of all time, my favourite classic Who story of all time, the one and only Remembrance of the Daleks. The king of all Dalek stories! Remembrance is the one! There is nothing about Remembrance that I hate. I love the references. References to the first ever Doctor Who story in 1963, referencing Totter's Lane, referencing all of the other villains that have come on Earth before, the Dark Invasion of Earth, the Yeti, the Zygons. So many goddamn references in this story. Makes this story completely so traditional to Doctor Who's roots. Going back to the beginning, going back to where the Dalek originally hunted for the Doctor, searching for the hand of Omega, searching for that one piece of Time Lord technology for the Daleks to use to travel through time. Since Omega was the creator of time, he left his hand behind, or a secret or mega powerful object that can give any sort of creature or any sort of race the ability to time travel. And seeing Davros in this, two Dalek factions going at each other, like this and this, and there's just so much carnage in this story, so much alliances, so much betrayals, so many deaths, like really terrifying deaths. And this is the first ever Dalek story. Like, if you don't even see this Dalek story, and for me personally, this makes this, Dalek story really special, because, the new series, when the Dalek's about to shoot people, you see the out design of the skeleton, the greenness of the skeleton as somebody is getting killed. You see the greenness of the skeleton in the new series. You might have thought that that was the start of how every human being gets killed by a Dalek. No. It happened in this very story. If you watch Remembrance, one of the soldiers gets killed and you can see the true skeleton colours getting scrambled and just disgusted into one big pile of mesh. You can see the skeleton bits in the humans getting scrambled and just getting absolutely obliterated by the Dalek's ray gun. It's phenomenal. And that's why I freaking love the Daleks in this. Their lasers are so advanced. Two Dalek factions, the Imperial Daleks versus the Renegade side. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And Sylvester McCoy is at his best. You see him being manipulative. You see him being quite calm and quite positive about life, and how a tiny gram of sugar would make your coffee sweet or would make your tea sweet. And just sometimes the conversations in these stories are so reminiscent to reality and relatable life itself. You see the darkest tones of Sylvester McCoy going out against the Daleks, and just way that the Doctor is speaking to Davros with just so much humour, so much anger and so much darkest tone that it's just sometimes almost humorous to watch. Like, how I be the all-powerful supreme leaders of the world, unlimited rice pudding, etc, etc. Yes, I know, that was a bit of an exaggeration, but I don't care. It's my favourite story of all time. The Special Weapons Dalek is a great, really good addition. I'm trying not to swear, but it's a fucking good weapon. Oh, everybody would love a Special Weapons Dalek. Oh, you know what? I think military now these days, they need a Special Weapons Dalek because it can cause so much destruction. Like, the Special Weapons Dalek, for one single appearance, just to blow up two Daleks with one shot, is enough for me to send, wow, like, this is like proper Dalek stuff. This is what makes me get excited about the Daleks. Two Dalek factions facing off with the humans involved, going at each other, Special Weapons Dalek blowing Daleks up. It's brilliant. It's brilliant drama, brilliant destructive. Well, what we already knew of a Dalek Empire. This is not a Dalek Empire to like New Heights of Bad Wolf and Part of the Ways. This is a Dalek faction. Two Dalek races fighting for the one thing that they treasure the most. The Hand of Omega, wanting the ability to time travel, but they're two separate races of Daleks. One hates the other one and the other one hates the other one. Only one of them can have it. But when they realise that the Hand of Omega is more likely a trap, then they realise that the Doctor trapped the Daleks from ever reaching Skaro, and the Hand of Omega accidentally or purposely destroyed Skaro. However, that never actually happened because Skaro is still alive today in the Magician's Apprentice and the Wizard's Familiar. But it gave us a good impression of how immense, again, how smart and how intelligent Sylvester McCoy's Doctor really is. And I can't thank him enough, but Remembrance of the Daleks, I actually went, and this is a true story, why this remains to be my favourite Dalek story of all time, and one of the reasons why Sylvester McCoy is one of my favourite Doctors of all time. Early this year, I went to a convention in Leicester. It was like a space museum, and I had the chance to meet Sylvester McCoy. I got a photo with him, and I asked him to sign Remembrance of the Daleks. Sophie Aldred, who played Ace, she was amazing, and I got her to sign the same DVD. So both Ace, Sophie Aldred, and the Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, have signed my copy of Remembrance of the Daleks. This is why it's my favourite. It's the first, sometimes your first stories are always the ones you're always going to go back to. It's like we always have a soft spot for our favourite, our first Doctor Who story that we've seen. Some people have always picked some other unfortunate and unlucky bad stories, but when you've picked a fabulous gem, I can't say anything much more. That for me, in my time of loving Doctor Who, for loving classic Who, Remembrance of the Daleks will never ever lose. I don't think my list would ever change. Some may do, but Remembrance though will never change. Remembrance is my all-time favourite Dalek story of all time, and my favourite classic Who story of all time. The Daleks are sensational. The referencing back to the beginnings, to the origins of Doctor Who, the Special Weapons Dalek, Ace and the Doctor being phenomenally acted well, really good writing from Ben Amovich, really good writing, really good direction, just everything about this story was just executed perfectly. That is it, everyone. That is my list. That is my top 25 on every single Dalek story, ranked from worst to best. And Remembrance of the Daleks is my champion, my golden winner of every single Dalek story, being ranked from worst to best, the king of all Dalek stories. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching for this amazing video. I hope you have enjoyed it. Don't forget to smash the like button for me, and remember to please comment down below your top 25 Dalek stories of all time, including the missing ones. If you don't want to include the missing ones, then that's fine, but make sure you please comment down below your opinions in the comment section down below, and remember to please subscribe to my channel for more Doctor Who content. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching a video once again. I'm actually going to be doing more of these videos, so we'll be doing, like, say, every Sideman story ranked, or any sort of like top 10 video, my top 10 favourite classic Who stories, my top 10 favourite worst classic Who stories. I'm going to be doing so much of these videos from now on, because I feel like that the reactions are all well and good, but I think we need to just start off on a good strong point. Starting to go with more of these videos coming your way on the channel, so I hope you stick around on my channel for more, because I feel like there's going to be more this time. I'm going to give it my all. I always give it my all, but I just want you to be sure that make sure you wait patiently, because sometimes it may happen in the next 2 weeks, or it may happen in the next month. But I'm definitely sure that I'm going to be trying more hard to keep this channel alive and to keep this channel going for as long as possible. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Thanks again for the support, for all of the waiting at all for this video, and thank you so much, everyone, for watching and enjoying my absolute long list of my top 25 and every single Dalek ranked story from worst to best. Thank you so much, everyone, yet again, and I'll see you soon in the next video. Until then, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye!